doing? So my name is Riva Riley, and I am a fish biologist. I like to start with relatable content. For the record, declaring that you are a fish biologist is a terrible pickup line. I can tell you that with a high sample size, very accurate. So there are some fish biologist misconceptions I thought I would take this opportunity to clear up. One of them is that fish biologists must be into mermaids or mermen, and absolutely not. I know way too much about fish fornication to be into that. People also think I'm going to be into Aquaman. Absolutely not. Get that shit out of here. I have no use for external fertilization. That joke kills at fish conferences. So the fish I study are called Cory catfish. They are the best fish, and angelfish researchers can suck it. Angelfish researchers are a smug bunch of bastards, am I right? There's a lot of reasons that the fish I study, Cory catfish, are the best fish. I think the sweetest and most wholesome reason is because they're so nice. So one of the things that I actually study is how my fish make friends with each other. Right? The answer is snuggling. It's delightful, right? The other thing that's really funny about my fish, they're from the Amazon, and they spawn during the rainy season. So when you take them out of the Amazon and keep them in fish tanks, they get horny whenever it rains. I did my PhD in England. I don't know what the average number of fish orgies per person is, but I am in the 99th percentile. Not to brag. Now, the way my fish have sex is legitimately hilarious, so we want to go on this journey together? You up for that? All right. So the real scientific paper, this is actual, it's real life, that describes the way my fish have sex is called Sperm Drinking in Female Catfishes, a Novel Mode of Insemination. And what this paper describes is what they call the classic T position. So this is how my fish actually copulate. Ready? So when the female is ready to mate, the male presents his belly to her. She takes his catfish face. At this juncture, I like to give you a visual aid. Catfish. Latches her catfish face onto the male's junk, science, and drinks his sperm. Fish blowjobs. Anyone expect that on a Friday night? Anyone come to the Cider house expecting fish blowjobs? Just me. And what's super strange about this is that the male's sperm has to survive the female's digestive tract. So they're one of the only animals where the males run out of sperm before the females run out of eggs. So the males start courtship, but the females finish it. So mating ends with the females kind of body slamming the males around while attached to their junk by the face, trying to coax out just that one more drop of sperm. Now, I don't actually study reproduction. Well, I kind of do, because when you have this system, how could you not? We're publishing an article. But anyway, the main thrust of my research is social learning. This is a lovely thing to study. It's when you look at whether animals will teach each other how to do things. And a common way to do that in fish is to use flashing lights. So that's how they train goldfish to do things. Goldfish, by the way, are wonderful, amazing creatures that deserve our respect. And if I could smite every person who's ever mistreated a goldfish, I would. Which just goes to show I'd be more of an Old Testament God. But anyway, I use the classic goldfish protocol on my catfish, and that's how I discovered that my fish are fucking blind. You can light up a tank like a disco, and nothing. So I needed another stimulus, so I could train them to do things. And a really obvious one for blind creatures that live underwater is vibrations. But we ran into this odd problem where we couldn't find a scientific instrument that vibrated in the way that we needed. So I was complaining to my British friend, because we're in England, about this. And she was like, come on, let's go. It's time for us to go to Ann Summers. Now, the problem here is that in my head, I've conflated Ann Summers with Ann Taylor. And when I perform in England, what I inform them is that we all know that Ann Taylor is where cool moms go to buy cardigans. So I'm thinking, what is this waggy-ass, kinky British Ann Taylor? When we get to Ann Summers, I quickly realize they're very unaffiliated. And I find myself standing in front of an array of vibration-producing devices in all shapes and sizes and colors. And the shop assistants who work there get paid on commission. So one of them came over to try to give me advice, just as I said to my friend, which one do you think would be best for the fish? And the shop assistant, you could just see in her eyes, was like, not my fucking job. Turned away, walked away, commission wasn't worth it. So I'm kind of losing my nerve at this point, so I picked one. It was a rose gold model, 4 speeds, 3 pulse setting. Not to just keep bragging all over the place. And I purchased it, and I was like, okay, great, the hard part's over. And I hurried back to my lab, and just as I got there, it started raining. So I had to wait for my fish to finish their orgy before they could try their new vibrator. So I ended up living in England for a long time as a result of my studies, and my first job was in England. And my American friends often ask me how I like it, and it quickly gets to the question, is the food in England as bad as the stereotypes say? And the answer is no. It's far worse. When I was living in London, I had a taste for Mexican food, and I went to the best rated burrito joint in the whole city, and the mild salsa was ketchup. So it's a real thing I had to eat. But I had a good time in England. Even though being an American in England is like being a puppy at a tea party for cats. No one knows what to do with your enthusiasm, but they definitely want it to stop. But I had a good time in England. I'm used to feeling out of place. For me, it starts with every family photo ever taken. And here's why. My mother is actually Indian, Gujarati specifically. My father, on the other hand, is a great big white guy, which you could all tell the second I took the mic. I'm the only person I know that on the occasion of my birth, my mother was like, are you sure this one's mine? This doesn't feel right. I think there's been a mistake. And my dad was there like, look at them jeans. Anyway, my parents' marriage ultimately produced 4 hybrid children. Now, my siblings come in a rainbow of colors. They're all very beautiful, and they all look appropriately mixed race. They're what white people mean when they say exotic. And then there's me. I look like a hardy medieval peasant girl who survived many harsh winters. Like all those family photos look like a beautiful mixed race family adopted a Yeti and raised it as their own.
Oh my God.
Like I'm a biologist now, but when I was in 9th grade biology and the teacher was like, dark skin is dominant, I was sitting there like, really? Sounds pretty fucking fake from here. And despite the existence of, mirrors, I didn't realize I looked like this for a really long time. That's because our mom made the fascinating decision to raise us as Indian children. She went all out. We're all vegetarians. We're all good at math. Only half of us are doctors. But then she did marry a white guy. That was best case scenario for her, am I right? Still, my Indian upbringing was so intense that I was shocked when I got to school and no one could tell I was Indian at all. I had a full-on kindergarten crisis when I realized, oh my gods, am I white? Oh, sweet Ganesh. Now the reason I invoke Ganesh is because Ganesh is the god of overcoming obstacles. That's one of the many things I learned as the only white kid in Hindu Sunday school. My religious education was difficult at best. Like one of the most common activities we'd do in Hindu Sunday school was put on skits about the various gods. And I played a demon in every one. I recently asked my white Irish dad, like, Dad, why did you let Mom bring us to Hindu Sunday school? And he was like, listen, you kids could have been raised Catholic. So as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome. Something to be said for that, I guess. Still, despite the, seething racial tension, I did learn a lot in Hindu Sunday school. So I thought I'd tell you about my favorite god, that's Ganesh. We'll remember him from earlier in the set as the god of overcoming obstacles, perhaps best known for having an elephant's head on a human's body. Anybody know what we're talking about? The story of how he came to be that way, it's not what you would expect. Like, he wasn't born that way. There's no race of reverse elephant centaurs in Hinduism. So I thought we'd go on this journey together. How are we feeling? Woo! All right, some Ganesh fans. I love it. Okay, so Ganesh was born a normal humanoid god, the son of the war god Shiva and the goddess Parvati. And right after he was born, Shiva had to go away for 10 long years of war god stuff. That was all the details we ever got about it. They didn't like it when I asked more about it in Hindu Sunday school. So after 10 long years of war god stuff, Shiva comes home, and all he wants to do is see his wife. Don't ask about that either. And there's this annoying little kid guarding his house. And Shiva did what any of us would do when annoyed by a child. He beheaded him. And he went on inside to see his wife. And Parvati immediately asked him, "Oh my gosh, Shiva, you're back. Did you meet our son Ganesh? He was out guarding the house." And Shiva went, uh-oh. And he had to take his wife out front to show her what he had done. And she was furious. She was like, "Absolutely not. You're not welcome in this house till you get our son a new head." And Shiva was like, "Bitches be crazy." I'm paraphrasing the sacred text right now. And Shiva went off into the jungle. He found an elephant and cut off its head. Side note, elephants are sacred in Hinduism. I don't know why it was okay for him to do that. They didn't like it when I asked about it in Hindu Sunday school. So he takes the elephant's head, he brings it back, they attach it to Ganesh's body, and they all went on with their lives. I had some questions. Chief among them, if they had head reattachment technology, why didn't they reattach his original head? Hope they have therapists in ancient India. Ganesh is sure gonna need one. Anyway, I got kicked out of Hindu Sunday school. After a recent performance, a man wearing a crucifix necklace came up to me, and he was like, "Wow, I can't believe they taught that to you in religious class. That's just so inappropriate for kids." And I was like, "Sir, let me get this straight. You think Ganesh's whimsical decapitation is inappropriate for children, but the Bible is fine?" The Bible makes Game of Thrones look like Dora the Explorer. Anyway, despite all of this, it was really important to my mom that her children know where we came from, even me. You can see that in my very name. So my first name is Riva, that's spelled R-I-V-A. My mom always knew she wanted to name her firstborn daughter this because, in her words, it was a white person-friendly version of a traditionally Indian name. But what she didn't know is that as it's spelled, it's most often given as a Hebrew name. And as one of the many Jewish people I've accidentally conned into being my friend over the years has told me, I look vaguely ethnic in a plausibly Jewish way. It's very confusing feedback. My best friend since I was a little kid is Jewish. But we're not friends because she thought I was Jewish. We're friends because we're both half. So she's half Jewish, half Catholic. I'm half Catholic, half Hindu. So we had this beautifully parallel trauma that really cemented our bond. Like in middle school, we'd be hanging out on a Sunday night, and I'd be like, "This morning in Hindu Sunday school, I got cast as the rape demon." And she'd be like, "This morning in Catholic Sunday school, my teacher told me I was a bastard." Because my dad is Jewish, and the Catholic Church doesn't recognize that Jews are people. So we bonded. I think she dealt with the trauma better, ultimately. So she eventually converted to Judaism, her father's religion that she always felt more connected to. She got married. She has 2 beautiful children. I'm here doing stand-up comedy about it, so I think you could argue she has an edge in the trauma department. She did have one crucial advantage over me, though, and that was that because she was raised Catholic, she never had to deal with the super devout Christian kids trying to convert her, which I did. I have some tips for you if you're ever in that situation, though. So one of the things is, if you really want to piss off a devout Christian, insist on referring to the Bible as Christian mythology. They don't like that. They have no problem referring to the sacred Hindu text as Hindu mythology, though. That's totally fine. And yeah, there's some crazy stuff in the sacred Hindu text, like we have a flying monkey god Hanuman. But we're just one insane genetic engineer away from flying monkeys. Meanwhile, in the Bible, Jesus turns water into wine, which is a spell in Harry Potter. And everyone thinks that's fine. Anyway, that's my time. You've all been a delight. Thank you so much.
Keep it going for your featured act, Riva.